About 2 years ago, I reviewed a watch from this brand and it was very pretty. It had heaps of promise regarding its design layout, how well all the elements work together, and today I have another watch from this brand and it's definitely pushing the design envelope once again. Now I was very keen to get hands on with this watch because the experience I had with the first watch I handled from Perrin was very good. So my question is, does this brand new Regia Automatic live up to my expectations? Let's find out. Now I really like the modern layout of Perrin's website, how easy it is to find what you're looking for and view their watches in very high quality renders. Now on their website, it states that their watches are hand built in Switzerland and undergo full testing and quality control inspection before they are shipped out, and that process includes accuracy review as well as in-house regulation when needed. And as I mentioned in the intro, does this watch live up to my expectations? Well, that's what I want to share with you guys today. Now you saw the pop-up, this video is sponsored by Perrin, so I will of course leave a link in the description section of this video if this watch interests you and you want to check it out. And firstly, diving straight into the specs of the watch, I measure a case diameter of 39mm and a case height of 12.8. That lug to lug is 45.4 and a lug width of 20. Now the crown is an unusual crown, it's a conical crown and I measure diameters of 6.3 all the way up to 6.9. It's got a circular design on the tip and the watch offers a water resistance of 200 meters. And the total weight on this FKM rubber strap, I'm measuring at exactly 104 grams. Now looking at the overhead, the watch sits very well on my wrist. That height is lovely at 12.8 and the comfort on this FKM rubber strap, it seems to conform to the wrist very nicely. However, the watch also feels a little bit top heavy because of that lightweight FKM rubber, so there's no real counterbalance here. And speaking of that strap, it's an FKM rubber strap, it's got grooves running the entire length and it seems to have a good amount of holes. It also offers quick release spring bars, it's got decent malleability to it and it's got a decent feel to it. Now this is where things get interesting, that bezel. If you look at the bezel, it's a 120 click unidirectional, it's got an aluminium insert and it has an inverted lume triangle at the 12. Now it's a dual purpose bezel. If you notice, it's got numbers 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, so it's a count up bezel. However, it's also got in conjunction on the silver side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 11 and that lume pip. So ideally you've got a count up bezel, a timer, as well as a dual time zone. So the bezel offers two functionalities which I like. And the action, superb. Check this out. It's very crisp, it's got a positive action. It feels premium, it feels accurate, and it lines up absolutely perfect. Now turning my attention to the crystal of the watch, we've got a flat sapphire with 3 layers of AR. And on this watch, it's doing a great job. It's literally crystal clear. The fact that this watch has a matte black dial with a stark white handset and markers, it really aids in legibility. Now looking closer at that dial, it has a date complication at the 12. Again, excellent legibility all the way around with the markers and handset, the way it's laid out. It's simple, it's clean. You got the name Perrin, its water resistance designation and Swiss made at the bottom. So functionality wise, this dial has worked really well throughout the week. Now turning the watch over, you can see there's a solid case back. It's a minimalist case back, it's got a serial number and each of these watches are going to come with their individual serial number. And behind that case back is a Swiss Sellita SW200. As I mentioned, it is in-house regulated, it features a date at the 12, hacking hand winding, and around 38 hours of power reserve. Functionally and reliability wise, the watch has been running beautifully. Now turning my attention to the lume of the watch, it features Swiss Superluminova BGW9. And on this particular model, it's very good, it's not exceptional, it's clean, applied beautifully, and for a sports watch or a daily or a general style watch, you're going to find that this is more than sufficient. Now lastly, before I get into any gripes or room for improvement, what about the price? Well, the watch comes in at 750 Swiss franc. That's around $1,200 Australian or 800 USD, and for me, that's a tad on the pricier side of things. A few dollars less would have really been welcomed here, but that said, the quality, the finish, the execution and design has not disappointed all week. And on that note, what are my gripes or room for improvement? Well, first and foremost, I mentioned the watch feels a little bit head heavy on this FKM rubber strap. Now, I really would have loved to try the balance out on a bracelet, however, I didn't ask them to send me out a bracelet, so I have to tell you guys what I've experienced of the watch as I have it. And it's comfortable, it's great, but it also would benefit from a counterbalance below the wrist. And speaking of that FKM rubber strap, the design is nice and I love the grooves running up and down the entire length. It is lovely, it's nice, it's malleable, it's firm enough and soft enough. However, with those holes, sometimes I find myself that, gee, it would have been nice to have a hole in the middle of one of those instead of where they're placed. So depending on your wrist size, that's something to note. Next room for improvement for me, the date complication. You can see it's at the 12 o'clock. I think it's a superb idea. It's placed exactly where the 12 o'clock marker should have been. So I like its integration, albeit they've omitted the loom marker. So you lose the loom marker, however, you gain a date complication. For my eyes, it's actually worked out balanced because you still have that triangle at the top. However, older eyes might struggle to read double digits here. In fact, older eyes might struggle to read single digits here. Just saying. And lastly, I did mention the price. A few bucks less would have been really nice and more palatable for me, but as I mentioned, in the watch's defense, it is really nicely executed. Now, in saying all that, putting all those niggles aside, what did I love about this watch? Well, first and foremost, that crown. I love the fact that it's conical and it leads into the actual watch, because the real estate, the way you actually grab this, is lovely. Your fingers can actually grab the whole crown because of the angle, the way it's shaped. So I think design-wise, they've done really well. The latch-down experience is perfect. The usability is also perfect. Next thing that I really loved about this watch was the bezel. Its action, its functionality, its noise. That is great. That is really, really great. But also the fact that it offers a couple of functions. That's really cool. And the last thing that I really liked about this watch, which I haven't mentioned, is the design. You notice that it's a fully bead blasted case. It has a superb, highly polished bevel running the entire length of that case, which in my eyes, it's subtle enough to maintain the tool aesthetic of the watch, but also beautifully executed so that it gives the watch a really unique flavour and character, which I was hoping for, and this has not disappointed. So overall, the watch has met my expectations with only a few minor areas that could offer room for improvement. It's a really cool, fresh and minimalist design that works well. The Perrin Regia X, I will leave the links in the description section, guys, because there are two different variants available of this model. This one caught my eye. And just on a side note, you know that these watches have an individualized serial number. And on this one here, you notice it's 79. Well, I didn't request that number. However, I spent the majority of my childhood, my upbringing, in house number 79. So, in that regard, it's really easy to make an emotional tie with something as simple as that. Whether or not you can request your own serial number, I'm not sure, but the fact that they sent me this one here was really fluke and by chance. So I hope you enjoyed that, guys. A week on the wrist with this Perrin Regia X. Leave me your thoughts about this watch. Did I miss anything that caught your attention? I'm more than keen to hear your thoughts and comments. Enjoy the watch that you're currently sporting on your wrist. Continue to enjoy this hobby, and we'll see you in the next one.